Hello and welcome to DFS Coach Talk. Today is Saturday, April the 23rd, 2022. I am Joe Sarvati, affectionately known as Coach, and I am joined by the one and only Josh Crash Davis. We are here to dissect this NBA slate for you, look at all four games that are being played today for the playoffs, and also give us some prize picks, analysis and selections, as well as something we haven't done here in the last week or two, and that's a Fanduel.
Yeah.
Two brains are better than one. See, I don't have enough brains to even come up with the name. It's been so long.
Yeah, it's been a while.
Hey, Crash, you ready to get into some hoops here?
Yeah, I'm doing well. Obviously got to shout out the Milwaukee Bucks for the way they bounced back last night. Without Chris Middleton, they just really stepped it up. Their defensive adjustments were excellent. Was really impressed with the coaching adjustments that Bud made last night. So,
yeah, they did. And a lot of times you'll have teams when somebody goes down, everybody just says, okay, I got to pick up the slack here. And that's what it looked like they did. They all just stepped up. Even your buddy Grayson Allen, for crying out loud.
Oh my God, man. He was awesome.
Yeah.
He did something good for Wisconsin,
There you go.
Yeah.
And I'm fired up for, my Mavs. Good Lord, to be up 2-1 with no Luka is sort of nuts. But we'll dive into that, talk about what we expect there. I will say going into this slate, Crash, it's very difficult to really completely prepare here because we don't know if Luka's playing.
Right.
And I've been diving into this and going through some of my Dallas folks that, usually have a pretty good feel for things. And it literally is a 50-50 proposition here. We don't know if he's going to play or not.
Yeah, it's a big piece. I mean, you can build your whole lineup around him, obviously. So it shifts the way the slate's going to go for sure.
It does, because, how the hell do you not play Jalen Brunson if Luka sits? I mean, 72 points in 2 games.
And
this
Spencer
is a guy
Dinwiddie too. I mean, they both, yeah.
I mean, Dawson and I were diving all over this. My son, talking on here even early in the season, saying, why isn't Brunson starting? He wasn't even a starter for a good portion of the season. He was like they thought they were going to try to go after 6-man with him and stuff. And then injuries changed that up. But what a story. I mean,
it's been something else.
He's been incredible. So lots and lots to unpack here. We want to try to keep it short enough that everybody has a chance to listen to it, but we've got some great things to go over here. So real quickly, as we jump in, if you're watching this on YouTube, let's get it out of the way now, because this is important to us. 7 days a week in front of the paywall. Give us a thumbs up. That means a lot to us on the algorithm on YouTube. It helps us move up that list. So quick thumbs up. Hit the subscribe button and click that little alert in the upper corner that lets you know when any of our podcasts post. If you're listening to audio podcasts, same thing. Quick 5-star ranking. Give us a comment. We have a giveaway at the end of every month for a free full access week of Coach Talk. This podcast is presented by PrizePicks. If you have not signed up for PrizePicks, what are you waiting for? Go to prizepicks.com. Use the promo code Coach Talk for your first deposit. They will match $1 for $1 all the way up to $100. So get after it. Use that promo code Coach Talk and get it done. Yeah. All right, 4 games on this slate, Crash. First one is at 2:00. And then to give you the landscape, there's a 4:30, a 7:30, and a 10. So we're not going to miss any games today. They spread them out so you can watch every game beginning to end. Plant in front of that television for about 10 and a half hours, and it's all the basketball you can eat, which is heaven to me. I'm so fired up for that.
Right.
And the other thing here that's really excited about these games is there's a lot of strategy at hand, because yesterday's games, the totals were all pretty close. This one, you've got a big spread. The lowest to highest is 20 points different, which means a ton of DFS points. So how you determine where those are going to go, like the low total again today is Dallas and Utah. Everybody avoided some of that last time. because it was the lowest. They ended up scoring a decent amount of points in that game. So
Yeah.
we're going to break these down, go through as we normally do, and then see what we can come up with. So first game, 2 p.m. Eastern, Philadelphia 76ers at the Toronto Raptors. It is Philadelphia by 3 on the road. Vegas likes them to wrap up this series. Philadelphia, again, with that 3-0 lead, can close out Toronto in a sweep. 213.5 is the total, 108.25 implied for Philly, 105.25 implied for the Toronto Raptors. Injury-wise, Thibault is out for Philly, so that does not help matters. The fact that he is a good defensive stopper off the bench. Bassey also out. But the bigger news are 2 key starters that it just doesn't look like they're going to play. And it's massive for Toronto. It's Pascal Siakam and Scotty Barnes, both listed as doubtful. And obviously, being the first game of the day, we'll get that news. But in my projections and going through things, I have them both listed as out, which is big trouble for the Raptors and their fans. All right, let's look at this game, break it down a little bit. We'll get some of your input here as well. Let me start off by saying this, Crash. I think personally, and then I'll let you break the game down a little bit too, is I just don't know if Toronto's got any gas left in the tank here. They're down 3-0. Philly is so dominant. You have, the ultimate revenge with Embiid hitting buzzer beater after the whole Kawhi thing when he was crying and everything a couple of years back. It just, I'm concerned about this game. If I was betting it, I would take Philly minus the 3. So let me ask you this, and then you can give your 2 cents on this game. Is Toronto going to, fall apart here if they get down double digits, or is this a gut check? They still have a lot of the champions on this team. Are they going to step up and make Philly work for it?
Well, first of all, I didn't know that Siakam was doubtful. That changes everything for me.
Yep.
Somehow I overlooked that. So I have a hard time seeing how they're going to do something drastically different, than they did in the first 3 games without Siakam, especially. It's just, I think it's probably a done deal.
I would think so. We will see. That's the question. And does that affect that, as far as playing DFS players in this game, I guess is the key.
Yeah, the usage is going to have to go somewhere, So I would think guys like OG Anunoby and Gary Trent and stuff like that would have to step up.
Yeah,
Trent did really well in Game 3, So I think that he's probably a good play. He's 5,400 on FanDuel, 5,200 on DK, and Anunoby's been solid with Barnes out too. But it's a tough situation because if that game doesn't stay close, then those guys are only going to get, 3/4 a play or whatever. So it's hard to know. It really is.
It really is. The way I look at this game is, I just think Philly's too much for Toronto, number one. Philly, I picked, to go pretty deep in this playoff run. I think they have the real pieces, but Toronto, playing a couple of guys from Toronto is not a bad idea. Siakam and Barnes, when you look at their assist ratio, their scoring, they both play the pseudo point guard at times during the game. There's just so much that needs to be filled in with those 2 guys out. Even if Philly smacks Toronto, somebody's going to pick up that slack. So I can see Van Vliet, Trent, and Anunoby and Boucher possibly, all being possibilities. Achua, maybe the next guy up as well. But I really can come out of this game, I think, with 2 Toronto Raptors. And even though I think Philly's going to smack them, this is the end. It's 3-0. They're not going to sit guys even down 20. They're going to try to keep fighting. You don't really ever fly the white flag in a game like in an elimination game. You just don't do it. Yeah. So I think Toronto are the key sharper plays here. where I'm probably going to fade here, and it's not going to be popular, but I don't think I'm going to go with Embiid or Harden for the simple fact that I don't think they need to be extended.
No.
And yeah, and I know
Embiid hasn't
Vegas.
done it.
Go ahead.
Embiid hasn't done it. I mean, he just hasn't. He's had 46, 40, and 48 fantasy points in the 3 games so far this year. I mean, in this series. And now he's dealing with a thumb injury on top of it. So it's been really tough. And we talked about this last week before the series started, how Toronto's really defended him well this year. So that hasn't changed in any of these games this series.
No, and now with guys out, it's going to hurt them. But you bring up a point, exactly what I was going to say next. They're saying that Embiid possibly has a thumb injury with it's a ligament. It could be a ligament tear.
Mm-hmm.
So is that going to hamper him? I mean, he can play with it,
right?
It could deter him a bit. But again, I know it's going against the Vegas number right now, but if Philly is in control, you would think that they're going to try to let Embiid get that thumb a little bit healthier. Now, this isn't like a little sprain where it's going to get healthy in 2 or 3 days. If it's a ligament tear in that thumb, it's going to bother him the rest of the playoffs.
Yeah.
How much so, we'll see, but they'll wrap it and brace it and do all of that stuff. Really, an injury like that, he'll probably need surgery after the season, but it's just a tolerance pain thing. Can you take the pain? It's not going to injure it any further.
Yeah.
So, it's just going to be a pain tolerance issue. So, I can see myself fading Philly here, even though I think they win this game. And I think I go Toronto with a few players to try to keep them in this game. But this is not going to be a key game for me by any stretch. And I'll tell you one other thing that I saw some scuttlebutt about. Heard a little bit of chirping about the possibility of Nick Nurse being the next Lakers coach. Did you hear that?
Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Very interesting.
And he's, I think, wants to be in a destination where people are going to want to, go. And Toronto's hard to keep players. People leave there because of the Canada thing, the taxes, it's just a lot. And I think that I wouldn't be surprised at all if Nurse is not the next Lakers coach. So, the Toronto players have heard that, the front office. So they're in a bit of disarray right now.
Yeah. Yeah. They're in a lot of trouble. What do you think about Danny Green as a bit of a value play with Matisse Thybulle out? Do you like him or no?
I don't. I mean, I know he's had a few decent games. He's getting more minutes. I just don't trust him at all. I mean, Danny Green is the kind of guy that can, even though he's only 4.1K, you still have Niang and Milton and Reed and Korkmaz and some guys that they can go to. I just don't trust him because as soon as you try to use him as a value play, he's going to have one of those 7 fantasy point games. I don't trust him.
I get it.
Yeah. All right. Let's go on to game 2. And that is the 4:30 p.m. Eastern game. It's the Dallas Mavericks, Utah Jazz. I don't know how they've set a line here without knowing Luka's situation, but they have. It's Utah -6. It's only 212.5 total. So it's low like the Philly-Toronto one, 1 point less. Whereas with the last 2 games, we're going to get some better numbers to work with. So certainly these first 2 games, based on the Vegas totals, are a little more risky. 103.25 implied for Dallas, 109.25 for Utah. Again, Luka questionable, True questionable, Ntilikina questionable, Hardaway out, Forrest is out for Utah. Those are the only players with any real, concern. Now, again, how do you look at this game without knowing that news on Luka? I guess we could talk briefly about it both ways. If Luka's in, I don't think they play him if he has a ton of restrictions. I don't say, hey, Luka, let's get you out there for 22 minutes. So I'm not saying he's a if he's in, he's an automatic play at 10-5, but I'm going to consider it because if they're going to let him go, I've got to think they're going to let him play in the 30s.
Yeah.
He's either good enough to go or not good enough to go,
Right. I agree.
But it's Utah by 6, whether he goes or not. I mean, worst case scenario, if he's not ready, they go down. It's 2-2, and they go back to Dallas. But losing that home court or having that home court advantage makes a massive difference. So
yeah,
we will see. I don't know what to say on Luka, but the bottom line is this: if Luka doesn't play, Jalen Brunson is deservedly a free square. He's only 7-7. He is 100% taken almost all the usage that Luka has.
Right.
And so I just think is he automatic for you if Luka sits? But even a more important question is, if Luka plays, is Brunson still in your lineup?
Yeah, I think he could be a nice GPP play. I really do, even if Luka plays, because I don't know. I mean, I know they're going to play, Luka solid minutes, but I don't know that they're going to give him his full extent of minutes.
Right.
Coming back from an injury like that, I wouldn't think they would, but who knows? So.
Yeah, and for me, I'm the same school of thought there. Even if Luka plays, I'm leaning towards Brunson. The guy I think takes more of a hit is Dinwiddie.
Yeah, I would agree.
But again, we have to see how that plays out. It's just impossible to look at in a other manner. What has really shown to me in this series, though, is other than Rudy Gobert defensively, they're not a good defensive team.
Yeah.
They have had this, everybody says, well, Utah is tough to play. Well, some of it because the altitude, I get that. And, and Gobert gets player of the year defensively all the time. But what you saw in this last game was they pretty much played him off the court.
Yeah.
I mean, what could he do? He was the last line of defense in there, but they spread out the floor, basically 5 out, and they couldn't even play him.
Right.
So,
yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't touch Gobert under those circumstances,
No way. And he doesn't have any offensive game. I mean, his offensive game is catch an alley-oop and dunk. I mean, that's literally all he does.
Yep.
So, yeah.
And we've talked about that forever. And, we played him early on in the series because we said, 17, 18 rebounds. But I don't even know if he's not going to get those extra minutes, then forget it. So not interested there at all. It's interesting, though. We'll see how they try to adjust because Quinn Snyder's a good coach. He's no, chump as a coach. But I think, as bad as Mitchell plays defensively, he's such a monster on offense.
Oh, I know.
I mean, and they go to him for every big shot. Now, what I do think you may see today a little bit, Crash, is you may see a little more double on Mitchell, which is, going to make it tempting to want to go with Bogdanovich or Conley, because this has to feel like an elimination game for Utah. If they go down 3-1, they're in big trouble. So I think you get more run out of Conley than normal. He's only 5'5", and Bogdanovich is 6'1". So if they're going to try, it's one of two strategies kids going to use. Either they're going to say, listen, Mitchell gets 40, we're going to hold everybody else down to nothing and win this game. Or they're going to say, let's make somebody else beat us. Let's run doubles at Mitchell, make Conley and Bogdanovich and even O'Neal and Clarkson hit some shots to beat us. I think it's more than likely the secondary aspect. I've noticed throughout the season, Kid has a tendency to be not from the school of thought of let's let the star get his points and try to let somebody else be. He likes to try to stifle the star and force somebody else to step up, because he was in that position a lot in his career. That's how he learned to shoot the ball. But so I don't know if, everybody, I think there'll be a lot of people go to Mitchell here. I think I'm going to go more from the side of value with the Conleys, Bogdanoviches, or Clarksons.
Yeah, I think Bogdanovich would be one of my favorite plays from the Utah side. And then obviously with Mitchell, I think that he's going to look to take over the game earlier than he did in game 3. He kind of waited till like that mid third quarter to really go
He
after
does
it.
that all the time, though,
Yeah,
man.
I
All
know.
the
I
time.
know. But like you said, if they go down 3-1, they're pretty much dead in the water. So I
Yeah.
think he's going to come out ultra aggressive in this game. And I was looking for his free throws prop because I like his free throws, whatever that's going to be. But I didn't see it on the board yet. But yeah, Mitchell would definitely come out aggressive, I think. And then Bogdanovich will be a good value play. And I could see Conley stepping up as well. So I like the Conley and Bogdanovich combo.
Yeah, and it looks like PrizePicks is hesitating on putting much up for this game until the Luka news comes out, I think
Yeah.
is what it is.
Yeah, that
Because
makes
it
sense.
does affect everything.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah. So this will be a fun one. I think, not a stack game for me by any stretch, but
Mhm.
a couple of key plays here, one-offs on each side, I think are
Right.
really the way to go. So,
Mhm.
all right, well, with 2 games down, 2 to go. Again, those 2 first games a little less scoring expected. The second 2 here should be a little bit more pace and some more
Mhm.
scoring, some more DFS points available.
Yeah.
The 7:30 game is the Boston Celtics and Brooklyn Nets. This is an interesting game as well. Boston's up 2-0, but we'll see. It's in Brooklyn now. Boston
Mhm.
held serve. Everybody's thinking, okay, Brooklyn's done. Boston's got this. I would say hold your horses here. It's only 2-0. Brooklyn has 2 home games. Brooklyn's favored in this game by 3. It's a
Yeah.
223 total. 110 implied for Boston, 113 for Brooklyn. So injury-wise, the big news is Boston is going to get back Robert Williams. So
Mm.
huge news there. Whether he plays full allotment of minutes or not, I doubt it, but it certainly changes the interior for Boston and improves them defensively.
Yeah.
And he's just bigger threat all the way around than Daniel Tice. For Brooklyn, Blake Griffin questionable, but he hasn't been in the rotation. And it looks like Ben Simmons is ruled out. There were talks that he was going to be back.
Mhm.
Have you heard anything else on Simmons that I haven't?
That was the last I saw that he was gonna be out today. So,
Yeah,
yeah.
because they talked about this maybe being his first game back. So maybe that was just scuttlebutt.
Okay.
But I think they'll just focus in on that. So really, full steam ahead here for Brooklyn. So this is interesting game, my friend. This is my favorite. This is my stacky game today.
Okay. Yeah.
I think, a lot of people will be stacking Memphis and Minnesota like they have been throughout these playoffs, and it's sensible. They're the biggest total. I just really like this game. I want to get your opinion before I give all my info, but
Mhm.
I think Brooklyn shows up. There's a lot of Brooklyn haters. I get it. Kyrie
Mm.
and KD can both be, not guys you want to root for sometimes because
Yeah.
they're a little agitating. But I think Brooklyn shows up. I think this is going to be a heck of a game. And I think these 2 teams, although Boston's defense is tough, I think these 2 teams are going to score and get big, big minutes from their key guys. What do you think?
Mhm. Yeah, I think that for Kyrie, he had that monster game in the first game, and then he just completely laid a dud in the second game. I think
Yep.
he was a little bit too focused on the fans in game
Yep.
3, and I think his focus will be back in this game. So I think he's actually the better play than Durant here.
Yep.
Durant's been held below 40 fantasy points in each of the first 2 games, and now you've got Robert Williams coming back, so that's going to help them defensively. I just think that Kyrie's a much better play than KD. And then if they're going to win this series and even get back in this series, they're going to have third and fourth scoring options. And I think Bruce Brown is going to be a key to this series. If he can step up the way he did in game 2 and they can get Kyrie and KD going right along with him, I think they can get back in this series. But he's going to be a key play for me.
Okay. Anything on the Boston side then?
Yeah, so for Boston, I think that Al Horford is going to be somebody I'm going to start to go away from with Robert
Right.
Williams coming back. That's going to
Yeah.
take away from his usage.
Right.
And then I think Jaylen Brown, because he's a little bit cheaper than Jason Tatum and he's been putting up similar numbers, is probably the better play for Boston.
Yeah, this is where I'm going to pony up and spend some money. I agree completely with you on Kyrie Irving. He's my favorite play on the slate. He's a 9.6, which I think is fair.
Yeah.
I agree with you also on your take with Kyrie. Second game in Boston, when you're badgered by the fans with some pretty nasty stuff, I don't care what anybody says, you can't block all of that out.
Yeah.
And I think that it just got to him a little bit in game 2, whether he'll admit it or not, which he won't. But I think the fact that this is back in Brooklyn, he's super motivated. Boston has let their hand known. They're going to defend Durant like a SOB, man. They're going to send 2 guys at him. They're going to double him every time. They're going to lean on him. They're going to muscle him. And that is their main defensive strategy in this series. So, as much as I think Kevin Durant will have a fine game at 10-2 with Boston almost playing a box and one on the guy, I think Kyrie it sets up for a massive game for Kyrie. I also want to go for another 1 or 2 of the Brooklyn value plays, whether it's Curry at 4.3, Brown getting a little bit 6.3 is a bit of a press for me, price wise. Claxton off the bench at 4.6, Drummond at 5.1, Dragic at 4.1. I think all those guys, you can take 1 or 2 of them and get some good value because there's going to be some open shots. If Kyrie starts getting hot, they're doubling Durant. I'll take Seth Curry standing alone at the 3-point line.
Yeah, I like that play. I do like Seth Curry as well.
Or Goran Dragic too. He'll make those shots.
Yeah.
So I like some of the value to go along with Kyrie on the Brooklyn side. On the Boston side, this is going to surprise you, but for me, I'm going for Jason Tatum today.
Okay.
He's 9.3, which I think is very fair. He is the leader of that team. He is such a stat stuffer. He grabs a ton of rebounds. He sees the floor well. I like him. I like his PrizePicks props. I just really like Jason Tatum. The only other guy I'd consider is Marcus Smart at 6.4. He and Brown, one or the other at that price range, I think is very doable. I'm going to get away from the Robert Williams being back and the mixture with Al Horford, Daniel Tice, and a little bit of Grant Williams. That just spells trouble for me.
Yeah.
Because you could get shafted on some minutes there. Yeah. So this is going to be my make or break it game, Crash. Tatum and Irving being the 2 key guys, and then stacking up 1 Celtic value and maybe 2 Brooklyn values. So I could come out with 4 or 5 guys in this game very easily.
Yeah. Anyone in particular you're thinking of for value for Boston? Or
Marcus Smart would be the guy that I'd look at. Yeah. He'd be the guy, that I would consider the most. I don't want to go to again, those bigs, and Derek White is not priced low enough. So really there's not a whole lot of other options. I mean, a lot of people are going to go for 5'9" Robert Williams, especially if there's no limits, but I don't want to risk it.
Yeah.
All right. Before we get to this final game, why don't we share some of our PrizePicks plays here, if that's okay with you?
Yeah.
I've got 3 that I'm going to share today.
Okay.
I've got a handful more that I'll be releasing in our Discord, but I'll give you my first one because it's appropriate. We just talked about it. I like 2 different player props for Kyrie. I like Kyrie over 42 on his fantasy score. I love that play. It's probably going to be my top play on the slate. And I like Kyrie over 3 3-pointers made. I think, again, he's going to get looks that he's not used to getting because Durant is going to be doubled a lot, and it's at home. He's going to be clear-minded. I love those 2 pieces of Kyrie. How about you?
Well, I had 2, but I'll go ahead and add a third as well. So,
okay.
Yeah. I've got D'Angelo Russell over 2 3-pointers made. He made 4 threes in game 3. He averaged 4.8 threes per game against Memphis during the regular season.
Yeah.
So, which I think we talked about going into that series. And those first 2 games was kind of under that median. And so I think that he's going back towards that median, being back in Minnesota. So I like him over 2 threes. My next play is going to be Joel Embiid under 50 fantasy score. We talked about how the game could probably blow out potentially, and also he hasn't gone over that number in either of the first 2 games. So Toronto's defense has been doing really well against him. So I like the under there. And then I like my top PrizePicks play is going to be Seth Curry over 15.5 PRA. Went over that number in the first 2 games in Boston with 17 and 21 PRA, and role players will usually play better at home. So I do like Seth Curry to go over that number.
I like that a lot. And at 4.3 on DraftKings, he's going to make a lot of my lineups as well.
Yeah, it's a good play.
My third play is Desmond Bane over 19.5 real points for Memphis. Do you know that people are not realizing what a fantastic year Desmond Bane had?
Oh, he's been awesome. Yeah.
I mean, it's his only second year in the league.
Yeah.
I mean, he's just been incredible. Do you know that he broke the record this year for the most threes made by a Memphis Grizzly player in the history of the Grizzlies organization?
Wow. In 2 years.
No one talked about it. I mean, that's a big record.
Yeah. Yeah.
And he's been so steady, so consistent. He defends well. He's out on the floor big minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And, he fielded Dylan Brooks missed like half the year. And there were guys in and out. John Morant missed like 25 games. And Bane was that steady force that just scoring 20 points a game, getting it done. And they just have not defended him well. They've tried to focus on Ja and, a little bit on Brooks and really let Bane just continue to do his thing. So, he's 6'2" on DraftKings. We'll talk about him next. But I think he gets over 20 real points here. He's been doing it consistently. The pace in that game is huge. And I really like that spot for Desmond Bane.
Yeah, I like that. So that will give us 6 plays for PrizePicks. So you can only do 5. So you'll have to mix and match.
Well, Kyrie, you can't put twice. So.
Oh, true.
Yeah. So you're going to have to choose which Kyrie play you want there if you're going for the big bucks. Are they still doing the 20X or was that
that was just a 1-day deal? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. And
so keep your eyes out for the specials there.
Yeah. I didn't get to take advantage of that one. I had one that hit 4 out of 5, but not 5 out of 5. So
gotcha.
Yeah.
All right. So speaking of that last game, since we have a lot of our PrizePicks plays tied to it, it is the Memphis Grizzlies up 2-1 in this series after the phenomenal collapse. 26-point lead at home. Minnesota loses that last game, which doesn't seem possible, but it did happen. So Memphis is a road favored by 3. Highest total by quite a bit, almost 10 as the highest, 20 higher than the Dallas game, 19 higher than the Philly game. So this is got to be, you got to use some guys from this game, period. There's no doubt. So that implied totals for Memphis are 117.75, for Minnesota 114.75. So you've got some really good implied totals to go in this game for lots of DFS opportunity. Injury-wise, Dylan Brooks is questionable. So, I think he probably plays, but it does help me like Bane a little bit more if Brooks isn't playing at full gusto. If he happens to sit, then I like Bane even more. But Brooks, we'll see if he's going to go as normal. Aldama and Tilly are out, and no injuries listed at all for Minnesota. So, we're in a situation here where this game becomes super palatable. I mean, can you afford to get up to Ja at 9-7? That's the $1 million question. For me, it might be tough because I'm looking at Tatum and Kyrie, but Ja would be my next player up there. Are you honing in on Ja today?
Yeah, I mean, Ja's been really consistent, 53, 52, 51 DK points. Been super aggressive in this series. He gets to the foul line a lot. So he's got a lot of different ways that he can get you points, fantasy points. So, yeah, I mean, he's right up there with Kyrie as far as the price range. So I think that you could probably look at Kyrie in one of your lineups and John, the other one, kind of build around that. So
I agree. I mean, he's a terrific play. I mean, he hasn't smashed the 5x plus 10. I mean,
mhm.
his raw points have been important,
Yeah.
but he's more on the fence for me as I'm leaning Kyrie now, but Joff certainly in a secondary lineup, I think you can't go wrong. And also, if Brooks isn't 100% or sits, we'll see what that news is, but I think he plays. That when he's out, he does, Brooks does take some usage. So it will
Mhm.
help guys like Morant and Bain both
Yeah.
if Brooks is going to give you a little less, because they'll plug somebody in there that's a low usage guy like a Kyle Anderson or somebody like
Yeah.
that. So
Yeah. Yeah.
that's something to keep an eye on. Um, the bigs are a little bit of a dilemma for me with the
Mhm.
Grizz. I never trust Jackson. They pretty much Steven Adams has been, like played
Played him
off out of
before.
the series. Yeah. I guess the darling that'll be highly owned is 5K Brandon Clark. He's
Mhm.
been the flavor of the month here in this series. Are you going to be on the Clark bandwagon?
I'm not sure. I kind of want to go back to Vanderbilt. I think that I'm not chasing that score with him, but I mean,
Yeah.
we saw for probably a good month where he was playing very solid basketball for Minnesota.
Yeah.
And so I do like Vanderbilt over Brandon Clark with this game being in Minnesota.
Yeah, I mean, and it is desperation time for Minnesota. I mean, they're in the exact same boat as Utah. You can't go down 3-1,
We won.
lose
Yeah.
two at home. You're dead. So this is an elimination game for them. I sort of like Brandon Clark. I've been a huge Brandon Clark
Mhm.
fan and expected him to be a really good starter for them. Dawson and I went to the NBA Summer League the year before COVID started.
Okay.
And that's what got us interested in doing this trip with Coach Hawk and everything. But Brandon Clark was the MVP, and Memphis won the Summer
Mhm.
League that year.
Yeah.
and he just was so dominant and has just never really gotten the full opportunity. He's been stuck behind guys. And he's shown his athletic ability and
Right.
his scoring propensity. He's a great rebounder. He can get you some stocks. So I'm buying in. I like it. I don't think it's a chase situation at all. I didn't realize or expect Adams to basically be played out of the series.
Mhm.
But Clark seems to be the biggest beneficiary of that. So at 5K, I think he's a key piece. I really like him here.
Yeah.
He's, I think, the guy to go with Bain as if you can, basically those two combined, you get for the price of Jaw. So
Mhm.
you can look at it from that direction. The big question I have is for Minnesota. Poor Cat, man. Cat
Yeah.
is just getting killed by everybody. I
Right.
mean, he has meltdowns in this series. He
Mhm.
had a game where he took 4 shots.
I know.
How is that how do you have a superstar center and he gets 4 shots in a game? He had more fouls than shots,
Yeah.
Crash.
I know. It was insane.
I don't understand it. It doesn't make sense to me, but he's down to 8-9.
Mm.
He's got to be furious. And then, of course, he screws himself up even more with that terrible soundbite. What are
Right.
you going to do about this game? Well, I'm going to go home, wind down, drink some wine. It's like not the right answers there,
Right.
bro.
Yeah.
So I don't know. You got two schools of thought. I'm interested in your perspective here. Is he
Mhm.
going to be in this meltdown mode where he's just lost his what?
Yeah. I
Or
don't
is it like, okay, I'm a superstar center. This is a bunch of crap. It's at home. I'm going to blow up and have a big game. What are you thinking?
Yeah, I mean, like you said, the answer he gave would lead you to think that maybe he's not that kind of guy. Maybe he doesn't take it too serious and he just, whatever happens but you would think that he would come out on fire. That's what you would think would happen.
Right.
But I'm not so sure that's what's going to happen. I actually like Anthony Edwards and D'Angelo Russell more than Cat in this game.
Okay.
I think Edwards, he had that monster game in game 1, and he's kind of fallen to a little bit below average games in the last 2 games. They're down 2-1 now, like we mentioned, and they really blew it in game 3. I mean, they were up by like almost 30 points or even over 30.
26.
26, yeah, 26 points, and blew that lead. So Edwards, to me, is the guy that's going to come out pissed off and take over the game. That's the way I'm looking at this. And then Russell, as I mentioned, he had a lot of success against Memphis this year and had a nice game 3. I think he's going to pick up right where he left off, and him and Edwards are going to carry the Timberwolves in this game.
It's so hard to figure here, man. I don't think Cat is that kind of guy. I think he does care. I really do. But I'll tell you, he's never really gotten this team anywhere. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I know they haven't had much around him, but since he's been in the league, they've not won diddly do. They haven't won a series in the
Right,
playoffs.
right.
So I don't know. I think he cares. I just don't
Yeah, I
know if
think he
he's
cares.
really that clutch of a player, you
Mm-hmm.
know?
Yeah.
I
But does
mean,
he care and then come out over aggressive and then get in foul
foul.
trouble like he did in game 1?
Yep.
I mean, he was a bull in a china closet out there, running over people and picking up fouls. And if he does that, then I mean, he's going to be out of the game as far as the fantasy point scores. So,
Yeah. Well, we faded him the last game, for the
mhm,
reasons of just him not being, there, it seems. But
right,
here's my reasoning behind it. I think Taylor Jenkins is one of the best coaches in the league already. He's a young
hmm,
coach, but he's so good. And I love what he's done against Cat here. He's taken Adams off the floor, who can't move. Now, he's a great rebounder, but big deal. What he's done to Cat is, okay, Cat, you're the best big man shooter of all time, self-proclaimed when he won the 3-point shooting
right, yeah,
contest today. And you've got all these moves, you can penetrate, you can do this stuff. We're going to just put our biggest 6'10 athletic dudes in Brandon Clark and Jaren Jackson,
yeah,
little Xavier Tillman. We're going to put these guys on you that can play you away from the basket. We're going to deny you the ball. We're going to
hmm,
get over the screens. We're not going to let you hit these step backs. And they've just balled him around defensively and had enough athleticism that it's caused him a lot of angst.
yeah,
And let's face it, D'Angelo Russell and Anthony Edwards, they have never seen a shot they didn't like. So there's not
true.
a ton of balls to go around here. And then all of a sudden you've got, Vanderbilt stepping back up. So it's a weird dilemma. I don't think for me, this is my opinion, and I could be wrong, but I don't think it's because Cat's not a strong player. I think that the Grizz have defended him correctly, and Minnesota has seen that, and they're trying to take advantage of other mismatches if they're going to take Cat away, because they're not a one-man team like they used to be. I mean, Patrick Beverly's been there. Russell, Edwards are great players. And now Vanderbilt's shown, that he can play at this level in the playoffs. So, I think people need to give a little chill to Cat, but I'm not going to go with him here, even though I think he's going to come out like a maniac. I think that the defense is good against him, and there's certainly that foul trouble potential as well. So, for me on the Minnesota side, you've got to have. I agree with you. You've got to have some exposure here. This game's just going to have too many possessions to not have exposure. So, on the Minnesota side, I'm looking more towards the guards, Beverly, Russell, and Edwards. I don't want to fall into the Vanderbilt trap. I know he's only 3.7. He's going to be mega chalk. Yeah, I know. Maybe use him in a cash game. I get it. But there's no, he's going to regress off that last game. Let's not kid ourselves. But at 3.7, maybe you still stay in there. But I would prefer, to spend the 7.1 or 7.8 for Russell or Edwards. Do you remember when Edwards was like 9.6? So, he's well reduced to where he was. So I think you can still get mid-level pricing with those Minnesota guards, and they'll do fine for you. You there? Did I lose you? I lost him. He's gone. All right. Well, I'm going to keep going here. And I am going to now go to the two brains are better than one lineup since we lost Crash. So it's going to be one brain is better than one lineup. So let's go check out where are we at? Fanduel. All right. So sorry, Crash. I hope that you'll give us some of your picks. I'm sure he'll share those for those listeners that aren't members. We'll have him post some of his selections for the Two Brains lineup on Twitter. So you can check us out on Twitter at DFS Coach Talk. I'm at Joe Sarvati, and Crash is at what is he at? He is at Josh. Let's see. Now I forgot. I always remember. Is it at JP Davis 1982? How could I forget? All right, here we go. Let's build this lineup. Let's get it in the books. And maybe it was meant to be that I had to build this by myself. Kyrie Irving at shooting guard. I'm going to go 9,900.
Hey, Coach, I'm back.
We're going. Hello?
I'm back.
Oh, rats. I was going to pick the team myself.
Yeah, I have no idea what happened. Our internet just went out for about 5 minutes or however long that was. So
let me see if I can cut you off again. No, I'm just kidding. All right. Well, you're perfect timing. I just made the first pick.
Okay, awesome.
I took Kyrie Irving 9,900 at shooting guard.
Okay, let me go ahead and pull this back up here.
Yeah, take your time. I let them know where to check us out on Twitter. And same thing, if there's any changes to this, when we find out the Luka news and everything, we'll post that on Twitter as well.
Okay, let's see here.
That's funny. I was ready to scoop all these picks on you, man.
Yeah. Oh, man. That definitely threw me for a loop there for a minute.
No worries.
I'm going to take – I'm actually going to take a little bit of value here at small forward. I'm going to take Malik Beasley.
Oh, my gosh. One of my least favorite players in the league, but that's okay. I'll go Chris Boucher, 4,200 power forward. How's that sound?
Chalk here. So
chalky. You still there? Did I lose you again?
I don't know what's going on.
Bad connection. You keep freezing.
You said Chris Boucher?
I did.
Okay. All right.
You having a storm there or something?
No, the weather is actually good. That's what's weird. I don't understand what's going on. I'm going to take Anthony Edwards at 7,600 at shooting guard.
Okay. Edwards. All right. I am going to go, as I stated before, I'm going to go ahead. Power forward Jason Tatum, 9,400.
Okay.
So that gives us 6,125 each.
Jalen Brunson, point guard, 75.
Yeah, that's sensible. Sensible. Brandon Clark, center, 5,500.
Okay.
So we're 5,750 for our last two spots.
Gary Trent, 54.
Trent, 54.
Small forward.
At shooting guard.
Shooting guard? Who do you have at shooting guard right now?
You probably put Beasley. I probably put Beasley in the wrong spot then. Either way.
Did you put him at small forward or shooting guard?
Small forward.
Okay. Well, either way, yeah.
Boy, I love both of these guys. Pat Bev 61 and Smart 6,000. I like them both a lot. So, and Connolly's 58. I could live with any of those guys.
Yeah.
Let's see. We have one Brooklyn player, one Dallas, two Minnesota, Memphis. Since we have two Minnesota, I'm going to go Marcus Smart.
Okay.
So here's our two brains are better than one lineup today. We leave $100 is all on the board. Jalen Brunson, Marcus Smart, Kyrie Irving, Gary Trent, Malik Beasley, Anthony Edwards, Chris Boucher, Jason Tatum, and Brandon Clark.
I think it's solid. I like it.
I like it. All right. Well, I appreciate everybody listening in today. We went over a lot of different things. Prize picks, we got those up there for you. Breakdown of the games. We've got our two brains lineup set. So I think people are ready for a full day of basketball. We just got to get this posted and up there so they can have time to watch it.
I'm ready for them to watch it, and I'm glad that I was able to join you for the tail end of this thing. I didn't know what was going to happen there for a minute. So,
well, thanks for jumping back in. I was ready to sweep the board. I had so many picks felt ready to go, and you got me right after Kyrie, so your timing was perfect.
You can give that takedown lineup to our members then. So
let's do it. All right. Thank you, Crash. Appreciate it. Enjoy all the sports today. Basketball, baseball, golf, everything's going on. We're loving it. Enjoy it. And certainly we hope our listeners out there will hit that thumbs up on the way out. Hit that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate that. So thank you to our presenting sponsor, PrizePicks, prizepicks.com. Use the promo code Coach Talk on that first deposit, and you get dollar for dollar up to $100 match. So go for it. We'd love to have you at Coach Talk, dfscoachtalk.com. Come and join us. We got the best family in the business, in the industry. We've got the best support staff. We've got all these now projections, ownership projections, all kinds of new stuff in the mix. So come and join us. We'd love to have you. Crash, thanks for joining today and getting this basketball stuff up and ready to roll.
Yes,
have a great day, everybody out there. And we will be back again tomorrow when we look to crush it in NBA, DFS, and Prize Picks.